Yes. All right, for presentations today, we are blessed with having Mr. Hatter, our engineer, making a presentation on amendments to Chapter 170 of the Land Use Code, Chapter 170 of Stormwater Management, and solar-ready warehouses. And Mr. Hatter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so the first ordinance that was referred to the planning board here is entitled Chapter 170 Land Use Code Property Grading. As the engineering department has been responsible for ensuring that the best management practices are performed during new construction, we realized that our ordinance really did not cover all of the, as I would call them, best management practices that they should. And so our attempt here is to incorporate all of these BMPs. I'll give you an example. When a new homeowner constructs his home, the intent is not to divert stormwater in such a way that impacts his neighbors. Okay, so that is something that we are codifying in this amended version of the grading and drainage plan. Now, I can tell you that the proposed ordinance is consistent with the land use plan element and the housing plan element of the master plan. And so we are now in a position to clarify the town's authority to enforce all of the required grading and drainage provisions that are necessary to protect private and public property. So that is the extent of my presentation on this particular ordinance.
Okay.
The next ordinance is Chapter 170, Stormwater Management and Control. The township had previously adopted a stormwater management and control ordinance back in March of 2021. Since that time, the NJDEP has revised the New Jersey Administrative Code as part of their regulatory review process. And they have adopted changes back on July 17th of 2023. The most prominent change that they adopted is the requirement now for developers to not only consider current rainfall projections, but also future rainfall projections. And the reason for that is the DEP is convinced that we are all being affected by climate change, and that the climate is going to produce even more rainwater. And so these developers will now have to take that into consideration on any what we call major development. That would be a project that sits on a property that's over 1 acre in size. So this ordinance basically is an adoption of the state statute and administrative code. It follows it verbatim, and that's it. Okay, that's it for that one. The last ordinance is regarding warehouses over 100,000 square feet. About 2 years ago, the state of New Jersey signed into law a statute requiring all warehouses that are over 100,000 square feet to be solar ready. essentially their roof has to be solar ready. We're simply adopting an ordinance that mirrors the state statute. And just as an FYI, IV1 Union, which is the latest warehouse that received approval from this board, although they were grandfathered out of the state statute, they appreciate the value in having a rooftop solar panel system. And so they've gone ahead and designed their warehouse to be solar ready and eventually equipped with solar panels. That was done voluntarily, obviously with some electrical costs savings associated behind it. So that is the third ordinance. And just so the board is aware, the Environmental Commission had an opportunity to review this prior to the Township Committee introducing it at its last Township Committee meeting. And they all approved of it wholeheartedly. So I just should include that. All right, so here you go. Those are the three ordinances. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hatter. Questions from the board? Questions from the public?
I do have a question. For the second item pertaining to Chapter 170 for stormwater management and control, Table 5 and Table 6, those two tables in particular, page D17, current precipitation adjustment factors and future precipitation change factors. How are those factors determined, and how frequently do they change year over year?
Okay, well, that goes to the core of why this ordinance was introduced at all. The state is convinced that because of climate change, that we can anticipate some pretty intense rainfalls in the future. And because of that, they define what these excess rainfall amounts would be. And as you point out, the table presented in the ordinance shows that we're talking about factors of 2 to 3 increase in what our current forecasts are for rainfall.
So are those numbers determined by your office, by the engineer's office, or is it provided by the state?
Those are developed by the state,
By the state.
the DEP.
Okay. How frequent are those numbers updated by the DEP? Like, when was the last time these numbers were updated?
Well, they were incorporated into their administrative code back last year. As to whether they have updated those estimates since then, I don't know.
Okay. So basically,
You can expect that if for some reason they should fall short of what the actual values become in the future, that they will adjust that table
Okay.
and require the municipalities to adopt ordinances in line with the administrative code.
Okay. Thank you. My second question pertains to the ordinance about the solar. It says here, calculations prepared by the licensed structural engineer confirming the roof can support the dead load of the solar panel system. I assume if a new warehouse that would meet that criteria of over 100,000 square feet, if they're proposing a new warehouse that would not be able to sustain a dead load of a solar panel system of at least 40% or greater, what would be the approach that the engineer's office would take in the review of that application? Would that potentially go forward to the board, or would that not?
We would recommend that they go back and get another architect and a structural engineer to look at the roof and come up with a design that would support that dead weight.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Questions from the public for Mr. Hatterer? All right, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the amendments to all three sets of ordinances to be referred to the Township Committee for adoption.
Move to make these ordinance consistent with the master plan.
Okay, thank you. Second,
Second.
roll call.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mayor Fiorito?
Yes.
Committeeman Bowser?
Yes.
Ms. Khan?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. Okay, that's all we have on the agenda for today. Is there anyone here for anything other than what we've gone over? No? Seeing no responses, I'll take a motion that our meeting be adjourned.
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.